Welcome back. I've been joined in the studio now by Public Affairs Analyst Comrade Michael Isaac Onuh. He just been out to do justice to the issues at hand today, bordering particularly on issues within the Labour Party and also on the state of the nation. Good afternoon, welcome to the program, Mr. Isaac.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon.
It's good to have you.
Thank you so much.
All right, so let's start with this news in the Labour Party. It's almost becoming a thing where, on a certain basis, we get some new sort of scandal attached to the party. And where we've seen, if I should break it down, is that there is an executive, an ESCO, that keeps getting smaller by the day. Initially, the youth leader had to be let go for one reason or another. Then it was the publicity secretary, Mr. Arabambi. Now we are seeing the treasurer. There's even an alternate group out there who claims to also be the Labour Party. I'd like to get your thoughts on this recent one. The treasurer is saying that the chairman, Mr. Julius Aburi, might have some funny business with about 3.5 billion naira that came into the party through the purchase of forms from the 2023 elections. What's your take on this and the scandals we're seeing?
Yeah, thank you very much. First and foremost, I'll try as much as possible to be very objective so that we are not being viewed as being partisan. We're going to address this issue squarely as it affects us. Prior to the 2023 election, Nigeria actually anticipated a third force, and we got that from the Labour Party. Because if you look at the facts and the performances from the last elections, you can attest or agree with me that the Labour Party was actually the third force because they actually did brilliantly well. In that regard, we must give kudos first and foremost to Barrister Julius Aburi, because he was the head of the Labour Party at that time and able to get this result prior to that. In the same vein, the treasurer Onuh that just came up now with this allegation, we should also commend her for voicing out. But however, just like the party said, they said there is no iota of truth in what she has said. They also allege that there are external influences. So we're going to view this issue holistically, and we're going to view from several perspectives. For voting out is not wrong in itself. But the question we should ask ourselves now is, what is the motives? Are there really external influences behind what she said? In my own opinion, I look at it that this is an inter-party affairs. It shouldn't come out too open like that, with which she went out with the press conference. That's how I look at it. I feel if there's an issue, it should be resolved amongst them. But however, the party, I still think they are leaving some little bit of loose ends, and that's why you kept seeing things like this kept happening. Nobody is perfect. The national chairman, Barrister Aburi, in my own estimation or my own observation of what I've seen, I think I'm going to give him some kudos for heading the party, for ensuring that they got the result that they got. But however, allegations, counter allegations has been coming up. What has been the challenges? What is the way forward? These are the things that the party should look inward and ensure that the trust that Nigeria gives to them is not being betrayed. Then we found out because the Barrister Julius Aburi led leadership, they set up a committee, and I think they're supposed to meet today. And the allegation that was brought forth by the treasurer Onuh, I think she's called to the panel for her to come and address some of those issues. Those things those allegations she brought forth, they are not things that should be swept under the carpet. She alleged that Barrister Ogbewe, the chairman of Labour Party, is involved in 3.5 billion naira scandal, and that he bought houses abroad, that he traveled abroad, he collected money from, but all these are just mere allegations. And I don't know the position directly of the chairman, but I strongly believe he's going to put up maybe his statement, because that is the right thing. Because
actually, Kaftan TV got an invite from the Labour Party. So at about 12 p.m., I believe they've released something which will air in our subsequent bulletins. But please go ahead.
Okay, good and fine. Like I was saying, the normal thing is, this is an allegation. All the chairman needs to do is, a wise man said, if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. All you need to do is for you to come and say, no, this is what she said. This is what was related in the form. This is the expenses. This is it. This is it. I don't have houses in where she claimed I have. There is nothing like that. I went to US. This thing happened. Labour Party did this. It's as simple as ABC. And in my own observation from antecedents, I have observed that most of these allegations, you might see there are elements of they are not really true. They might slightly be blown out of maybe proportion. But however, for a party member, top party member, to come out like that, it means there are issues that were not resolved. She said the national chairman refused or stopped her from performing her duty. And I think I read in the Labour Party official statement that they released about the statement that the national chairman is the chief financial officer. All the treasurer is supposed to do is just get records and maybe update something. So for her to go to the public and release that press statement, I still think is not still right, in my opinion.
Oh, fair enough. Do you think this in any way calls into question maybe the chairman's ability to manage affairs internally? I say this because when we look at the other opposition party, one of the other opposition party, the PDP, they also had a lot of issues leading up to the election. And just after the election, we saw that eventually the chairman was somehow removed through one technicality or another, and they had others in that role since then. So the question is, how much do you think this affects the Labour Party? Is this a situation where the ESCOs keep finding one reason or another to go after the Labour Party chairman? Take for instance, if the counter allegations are true and that there's external influence here, does it mean that it doesn't take much to approach an ESCO member and get them to flip on their principle? So I wonder, how does this affect the image of the party, and do you think it's a time where they should start considering doing something very major to forestall further challenges leading up to bigger elections?
Yeah, certainly. Like I've said earlier, I think the Labour Party leadership, they are leaving some little loose ends, and little cracks, if not properly managed, it might end up causing something big. What you need to do at this point is call all aggrieved members, which I believe the national chairman of Labour Party, Barrister Julius Abu, has the capacity.
Because would this include the people who've left completely, or just the ones still within the party, like the treasurer? Who would you?
Basically, if you have, particularly when you're going to election, and we are having several elections, you need everybody together. It makes you more formidable. If you have the capacity, or people are willing to come back and work with you, there's nothing wrong about that. Get them on board so that you can become a stronger and more formidable force. But if you carefully look at what has happened over the past, from the Lamidi Apapa issue here and there, I think the national chairman of Labour Party, Barrister Abure, has successfully navigated those aspects, and I still think he has the capacity and is going to still overcome this thing. I have not actually seen the outcome of their meeting today. I would have actually, if I had seen it before now, I would have actually known what was up. I didn't know if probably maybe the treasurer was there or she wasn't there. But however, I'm very confident that the Barrister Julius Abure leadership is capable of handling this issue, and he must do everything that must be done to forestall such from further occurrences, because the perception, how you handle this thing, it matters a lot, because Nigerians are watching you. You're going to come out openly and tell them, this is what she said, this didn't happen, this didn't happen, this didn't happen. And if you know you're free, the issue is going to be resolved.
Well,
but I'm confident, Barrister Abure will come out of this.
All right. We know the national chairman is Mr. Julius Abure, but I think everyone is also aware that the national leader of the party is Mr. Peter Obi, former presidential candidate and former Anambra State governor. In all of this, to what extent do you think he can, delve into these matters as sort of, let's say, an elder statesman, the national leader of the party? Would you say it will make sense or be fair for him to sometimes step in and say, what's going on here, how do we resolve this? Or is it a case where he should be away and completely separated from whatever is happening within the party? Because on one hand, some people make the argument that he should just mind his business till his time, and others say that his silence, so to speak, is sort of an endorsement on some of his allegations, that we need him to speak out, to fix situations like a leader and so on. Which do you think is the right path to at this point in time, as someone who we believe still has perhaps ambitions to still be president someday?
Yeah, as a top leader in Labour Party, Peter Obi has to speak up. You must chart a course.
Do you think you should do it publicly?
It doesn't matter how it's done.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how it's done. Because I still believe in the capacity and ability of the national chairman, Barrister Abure. I've seen the way he steered the party in the last election. I still believe he has the capacity. But however, Peter Obi has to come into this matter, either publicly or anyhow he wants to do it. He has to come into this matter so that the matter will be resolved once and for all.
Do you think he can afford to pick sides at this point in time? Would that hurt him?
As a leader, he's a leader for all.
Okay.
I don't think, from the perception or my opinion about him, I don't think he's going to pick side. He's going to stand for the truth. I'm sure that any party that is guilty in this must face the consequences, and I still stand to be corrected, or my opinion. I think for the treasurer to go public, in my opinion, it's not really right. This is an inter-party affair. It can be resolved. If you say the national chairman is not listening to you, or he doesn't, you have other leaders, you can get in touch with them. But coming out publicly, it means I don't know. Just like the allegation that there are external influences. However, we cannot rule that out. But in politics, if you give your opposition the opportunity, they are going to feast on it. And anything that will bring you to your knees, they will do it. Whether there's external influence or not, all Nigerians are interested. We want opposition. And the beauty of democracy is the viable opposition. Labour Party should go and fix their house. And I believe I believe in the leadership of Barrister Abure. I think he's going to navigate and come out of this thing successfully.
All right. Just two more questions on this issue, so we move to another one. First of all, what are your thoughts on the Onuh election coming? We've seen a number of candidates, although again, the issue of allegations. One of the aspirants actually left the Labour Party some weeks, or let me say about over a month ago, citing the what would you call now, the introduction of what he called money back politics. He felt as though there were some candidates, or a particular candidate, who was throwing money around and made it seem impossible for them to get the tickets. Another aspirant alleged that perhaps there is an issue of Edo Central agenda being thrown around by the chairman himself. So I'd like to get your thoughts, knowing that Edo State has kind of a special relationship with the Labour Party. We saw how they voted massively for Labour Party. Labour Party won the presidential in Edo State, and whenever Mr. Peter Obi is in the state, it turns to a carnival, and we see all sorts of people, coming out for him. That being said, how do you, overall, taking all this into account, how do you analyze or take a look at what Edo State could look like at the end of the day, the election, the primaries, and all the politics involved in that state as regards Labour Party?
Yeah, basically, the Edo elections, Labour Party are supposed to go into the election as a major force. Because if you look at the PDP, there are little cracks. What I mean little cracks, I think the governor and the deputy governor, they've been having they've been at loggerheads. And whether you like it or not, the deputy governor has strong influence. So it depends on who is able to woo him. Who is able to work for the opposition. They are going to make a statement. Labour Party is a very major force in Edo State. And you can't rule out the APC. That's the Adams of Shomole faction. The Adams of Shomole influence. They are a major voice too in Edo. But I still think if Labour Party can put its house together, play their politics right, Edo might likely go to the way of Labour Party. Maybe the allegation they said the national chairman, it's maybe trying to campaign that the governorship should go to the central. I don't know the zoning principle of the Labour Party. If they are following the zoning principle, and it is so, I don't think there's any infraction in those aspects. But however, it's an internal party affairs, and as they are going into this politics, they must make sure all hands must be on deck. They must get every agreed factions together, so that they can go into the contest from a position of strength, not of weakness. If they don't do it, you cannot. You made mention about money. The issue of politics in Nigeria and money cannot be separated. But it's so unfortunate. We are in a country where, I don't want to generalize, but I believe things can get better. We're in a country where we tend to reward bad behaviors. Similar thing happened in Kogi election. People were caught with a lot of result written. Nothing has been done. We can't continue like that. People were caught with money. Nothing was done. We can't continue like that. We must ensure that we don't leave our politics in the hands of money bags, because if we leave it, we might end up not having the best. That is how I see it, and that is how it has been.
Fair enough. Do you have any comments on when you spoke about money? Any comments on the fact that the Labour Party's fees for governorship nomination and interest is about 30 million, and one of the aspirants actually let me know that was the price that they were asked to pay. I believe before this, the Imo State elections, it was about 15 million or so, and this came as a result of people like the national leader, Mr. Peter Obi, chiming in and saying, well, this is not really the best. Is it as a result of the economy, or is it just the Labour Party trying to cash in on what it believes is a new sense of popularity? That amount, does it seem feasible?
Several factors might actually be responsible. But as a party, they have the prerogative to determine what should be the cost of the fund. However, why I tend to maybe look at things slightly different is the Labour Party as a party must do something completely different from what the PDP and APC has been doing. That is going to set them apart. And I've gone through some of their policies, some of their reforms. I think the Barrister Julius Abure leadership is in that direction, is on that course. But however, all these distractions, they are affecting the fortunes of the party. Today you have this, tomorrow you have this. They are affecting the party, and they have the capacity to affect how people perceive the party going forward. So they must do everything possible to stem this tide immediately. If other political parties are charging like this, Labour Party must be different. Nigeria believe in Labour Party as a third force. Anything that will make them stronger should be done, and anything that will make weaken them, I think they should try and completely do away with that. But I still believe the capacity and ability of Barrister Julius Abure.
Let's move away from what the party does internally to what those or let's say what it does externally, referring to those who have won elections with the party. We know that there are a number of Labour Party candidates, officials now, we should call them, in the National Assembly, states of assemblies. They have one governor, and so many other positions, particularly by the National Assembly. I'd like to get your thoughts as to how you feel the Labour Party can go against the tide if it's seemingly not in the favor of Nigerians, or how they can react to certain issues. I believe you saw when I read some of the headlines about the National Assembly seeking more, let me read it out here, 20% of the budget, despite receiving at least 2 trillion naira yearly allocation for constituency projects. Now, we're already having some Nigerians saying, what do we even need this meant for? They just go up our money. I mean, it's not to say it has any validity, because in a democracy you need legislators. But that being said, it goes to the point where people start to question, do we really need them because of how much they cost? How does the Labour Party find a way to stand out in all of this? Take, for instance, in the issue of when the SUVs were being shared, that caused a whole lot of controversy. And we were expecting that the Labour caucus would come out and say, we condemn this, we are not part of it, we don't want the cars, in fact we donate the money to charity or whatever. There's expectations of something. So I'm wondering, do you think it's something that they can do, considering they're a minority, and how would you say they could do it?
Like I said earlier, the Labour Party must go in a different direction. You can't continue going the way the previous political parties have been going, and you expect Nigeria to take you serious. When those issues about those SUVs and those funds came, it just dawned on me that an average politician is always an average politician. I was expecting Labour Party, that's my open opinion, Labour Party representative at the National Assembly, to even if you are not returning it, at least make a statement that no, we are not interested, even if it's your right. By doing so, it would have endeared more to Nigerians. They didn't do it. Now, what is the difference that we have between the previous political party and the third force? The differences are not much. But however, it's not too late. They can still make a difference. What do I mean by they can still make a difference? They can still decide to go in a separate direction. The beauty of democracy, like I said earlier, is in the opposition. You must not go in line with what the majority are saying. No. If you do it, you are making our democracy and politics a one-party system. And it must be condemnable. It must be avoided. We must not allow that to happen. Labour Party, I don't know if the national leadership have the right over those elected members, because the political party itself is a purpose vehicle that takes you to your destination. They must come out and let Nigerians know that we are not the same thing. But however, so far, I think those most legislators of the Labour Party, they've not done maybe differently from what we've had in the past. But I believe maybe after this issue that the current rocking the party, I'm sure maybe the Barrister Julius Abure leadership and Peter Obi, they're going to do something.
All right, you already touched on something I was heading towards, which is opposition. I'd like to get your thoughts as to, the level of opposition you see, not just from Labour Party, all parties. I say this, I say this, as I'm saying this, we have some PDP governors speaking out, and they're having a back and forth with the APC. But prior to this, it almost seemed like as though majority of the decisions or policies made by the president were usually praised, or would I say they were accepted, by a lot of the opposition. So what I'd like to get to know is, and I spoke the other day, some they say that there's really no more opposition. I spoke with a PDP member the other day. He was also disappointed in his own party, saying that there's not enough constructive pushback from the opposition. And I would like to get your thoughts. Do you think we're actually headed for a one-party state?
The truth is, all truths are parallel. That is where we're headed. The opposition, they are not doing much. In fact, if you want to say I should rate them on a scale of maybe 1 to 10, I'm going to give them maybe 0.5 or 1. The opposition, APC administration, has given them every reasons to feast on, to project their own party that they are better off, and they are not doing it. And it still amazes me. Some days ago, the leadership of the PDP, some governors, they released a statement, and APC, they came up with a statement. They countered those allegations. PDP governor said Nigeria is headed towards the way of Venezuela. The APC said no. Now the question I want to ask is, the APC, were you expecting PDP to say something different? These are the things that make democracy thrive. It should be a continuous thing. Opposition are supposed to speak. By so doing, because of the last performances of Labour Party, you can see most of the major political parties, they are on their toes. They know if you don't perform, there's tendency these Nigerians, they are already becoming more politically aware, they might swing to this direction. So I want the opposition to do more. That is what makes democracy democracy. Without opposition, there's no democracy.
Fair enough. You spoke about citizens being more politically aware. How do you think that that movement should be sustained? 4 years is a long time, and it's also a short time, depending on how you look at it. But what I recall in the last election was around the ending of the PVC exercise. We saw massive push, people were in queues, but there was a very long period of time where you could have gotten your PVC without next to no stress in a matter of perhaps days, but Nigerians didn't really key into that. How do you think, or who do you think should be those who perhaps raise that message again in the interest of political awareness ahead of whatever election is coming next? Because it seems as though a lot of the parties don't also do that work. We see NGOs, I have to commend them. They try their best. They're telling people, come and vote. You need to participate. You need to join in. But I don't know if I've seen a lot of that from opposition. I'd like to get your thoughts, if you have any ideas as to how we can begin to get more Nigerians, if at all, if we could get 50% of those who collect PVCs or register to actually come out, and not the much lower numbers we often get. How do you think we can go about that as a nation?
Yeah, going about it is a lot of stakeholders are needed. The civil societies, the media, the government, the oppositions. These are major actors. They are supposed to create the awareness. But it's so unfortunate that in our country or part of the world here, we believe so much in fire brigade approach. You can see a politician is dormant, but once the election cycle comes, you can see him very active. These are things that must be discouraged. So it behoves on these major actors that I've just said to keep doing it. For the media, I'm aware they are doing it, but running the media, it costs funds. It's not really easy. Then the experts, National Orientation Agency, they are supposed to do more. It's their primary responsibility of sensitization. But it's so unfortunate. Those I don't know if funds were really voted for them or are voted for. They will leave it until when this election cycle. It shouldn't be so. So the civil societies, we are calling on the civil society to keep on sensitizing the people. And the opposition, the best time to win an election is if you can start now. But like I have said, in this part of our world or our country, we believe so much in the fire brigade approach, and it must be discouraged. So the opposition can do more. Civil societies can do more. NGOs, and all our sundries, all hands must be together. Religious leaders must ensure you keep encouraging people. Not when election comes, you now put pressure on everywhere, and a lot of people are disenfranchised because they could not meet up, or they were not able to meet up before that listing.
Thank you so much, Mr. Isaac. I think the message there is just to start early.
Yes,
and you can be rest assured that we will bring you here the information the moment it becomes ready, that Nigerians can once again begin to register and collect PVCs for those who have come of age and those who could not in the past. That's how we end this segment. So we'll be moving next into issues on the state of the nation. But I've been speaking with Mr. Isaac Michael, the public affairs analyst. We'll go on a short break now, then we'll report. When we return, we'll delve into the issue of the high cost of living, the state of the nation, what the government is doing to try and fix the economy, some allegations left and right, and other issues affecting the average Nigerian out there. Just stay with us. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. I'm still with Mr. Michael Isaac Onuh. He is a public affairs analyst. Now we delve straight into the high cost of living, the issue of economy and the state of the nation. Mr. Michael, I'd like to get your thoughts as regards what we have been seeing and experiencing in the country. The naira to dollar rates constantly increasing. We have the issue of food. The food is becoming quite an issue where we have a government trying to set up a committee to fix prices. Some have complained about that, and also generally the issues we are seeing as regards the economy and the rising of prices. Recently the IMF says or disclosed that the federal government is still paying subsidy from the back door, as they say. I'd like to get your thoughts on all of this, because these policies were made immediately. The president came in and they had immediate effect on the lives of Nigerians. What's your take on how they are faring now?
Thank you very much. If you look at the state of the economy, first and foremost, there have been a lot of projections. The projections are different from the reality. Like you rightly said, the IMF, I think over the weekend also, everybody came that the Nigerian government is paying subsidy through the back door. That is the truth. There was a report, I think, by Daily Trust in August, that the Nigerian government paid over 160 billion naira as subsidy for that month, and it's been continuous. Now the IMF went ahead to say, in fact, let me quote what the IMF said. The IMF urged the Nigerian government to completely stop the payment of subsidy on petrol to free funds to run the government. I'm here on a live TV. I want to tell the government, the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu led administration, he dare not change that thing. If you stop that subsidy that they said, the price of things will keep going up. Nobody can predict what will happen. Nobody can predict that. So they must not even throw that line at all. And the truth is, Nigerians are heartbroken. But we found out now that we are happy now that a lot of major players in the economy are speaking. I think some days ago, the Emir of Kano, Ado Bayero, sent the president's wife to him. Go and tell your husband, the president of Nigeria, that Nigeria is suffering, and that is the truth. The government must, as a matter of urgency, implement policies that will make the lives of Nigerians better. You came into during the campaigns and before the election, you promised Nigerians. I want to say this: if it's going to be possible for the president to even reverse the subsidy waiver, he should do it. The moment we're able to do it, the price of most things will go down. I don't know if the president is aware or not, but the truth is Nigerians are not happy. The price of things on the market are high. They are an all-time high. The Naira, I think yesterday also there was a report by Punch that came out. The Naira went against the dollar, an all-time low of over almost 1.6. It has never happened. There's nothing wrong in maybe coming up with policy, but if it has not worked, you can reverse it. If you don't reverse it, we must not continue like this. Often my own opinion, I've always been skeptical about the IMF. There's nowhere in the world, including those advanced countries, that they don't pay subsidies on energy. You can't come to a country like Nigeria, advise the government, they took it off. We saw the ripple effect. You floated the Naira. We saw the ripple effect. Things, in fact, has skyrocketed. In fact, it has never happened in this country. And the president must, as a matter of urgency, address the situation.
It's interesting, really. when some economists are talking, they say the president really didn't have a choice, because what happened with the subsidies is that he removed it, but realized perhaps I can't remove it all, and then paid a little bit more. And what we're hearing is that if he had continued that regime or that idea the way it initially was, Nigeria might be insolvent by now, and so on and so forth. I'd like to get your thoughts as to what you think should be some level of accountability for some of the things happening here. We have the current administration, a key number of figures among them. We have the former APC national chairman, the current Senator Adams Oshomole. We have some persons from within the presidency. We have various politicians all blaming the past governments for mismanagement of the economy. And I'm sure you've seen the story of about $6.2 million that was reportedly released to election observers by the CBN governor, who is now claimed to have forged papers and so on and so forth. So when the current administration blames the previous administration, what do you think that really says? And what should be the way we begin to ensure that, people at least, if not pay for it, are accountable for what they did? Because everybody in this administration supported the previous administration, and now suddenly they are saying it was, yes. So what do you make of that?
Like a wise man rightly says something, that a bad workman will always blame his tools. We must begin to hold our leaders responsible now. The truth is, most of the frontline presidential candidates actually advocated for subsidy removal. But this is it. Most Nigerians were deceived that payment of subsidy was not good, but it's not true. And anytime you see the governors, the 36 state governors, and units, collectively agree on something, that's a red flag. The only major benefit that Nigerians benefit is the payment of that subsidy. Taking it off is like you are mocking the ox, or you're trying to kill the common man. But the most terrible thing about the subsidy removal is affecting both the poor and the rich. So that's why you begin to see them, they are voicing out. The president, most of his aides and their statement, I don't think it's even trying to help the situation. I think firstly we had the Kwara State governor, who is the chairman of the Governors Forum, also APC Governors Forum, or Governors Forum. He said the cost of food in Nigeria is better than any African country. The Minister of Finance, a well-respected authority, Wale Odun, came and said, this administration now is better than what they meant. And that's not the truth. Even they try to advance his argument. And the Minister of Communication, Mohammed Idris, a well-respected authority in the broadcast industry, I think he was on air on channels or thereabout, one of your sister stations, some weeks back. He said Nigerians should be patient. I wasn't comfortable with that word that he used. But however, I said no, the government cannot keep asking for patience. You can't tell Nigerians to be patient. Bear the sufferings. Now the cost of government, you have not reduced anything. You have not reduced your own cost of governance. It's still high. The number of ministers increased. Number of their cost of governance increased. But you are telling Nigerians to bear the pains. There's no way it's not possible. This policy, we have seen it before. It has happened before. I think in Brazil or thereabout. A policy was implemented, it didn't work. The government went back and reversed it. You're talking about subsidy removal. You don't just remove subsidy when you don't have fence. The major thing that Nigeria needs now, and maybe give them power, good roads, you're going to see transformation in this country. You don't have energy. Now you have removed the subsidy. It has affected virtually everything. Because why? The cost of pump price today has increased by like 300%. You heard something earlier. Bakers are threatening to go on strike on the 27th. Labour is threatening. Average Nigerians, they've protested in Kano and maybe Niger or thereabout. That is the reality of what is happening on ground. You can make a policy, but if you see it's not it, there's nothing bad in maybe humbling yourself and going back and review that policy.
Can I ask what you think about the performance of the government in terms of doing well with the money they save? Because when the IMF talks as though we are living in an ideal world, where automatically all the funds that are gotten from these will be used automatically for the nation. And in an idea, I think we can all imagine it. The money saved from subsidies funneled into a better transportation system. It makes everything much easier. I think Nigerians all envision and wish for a place like that. So that's my question now. We are saving so much money with subsidies being removed. Some persons don't even agree subsidies should be removed. Take for instance, the SDP presidential candidates believe that it is the corruption in subsidy that should be removed and not subsidy.
That's right.
And now we have, I don't know if you heard about the Hajj, where some religious persons go on pilgrimage. The government is still subsidizing that, even though it has reduced, it is still subsidizing that. So I'd like to get your thoughts as to the monies being saved. In your opinion, are they being used in a way that makes it, worth the pain that the removal of these subsidies have happened or has been done?
Part of largely the commodity in short supply in Nigeria is the truth. It has always been the challenge. No sincerity from the government, no honesty. It has actually been a challenge. Nigerians don't mind you removing the subsidy, but what are you doing with what you see from the subsidy removal is the challenge. And like you said earlier, I think that presidential candidate of SDP, I've read through some of his manifesto. If I am the president today, I'm going to work with him. I've had him spoken in a lot of forums. He has debt. He prefers solutions to this country if some of those things are implemented. Like he rightly said, subsidy removal is not the solution. It's taking away the trouble in the subsidy, which is the corruption. And that is where they fail to do it. Now, you have removed the subsidy. The price of things skyrocketed. Maybe by 100 or 200% or even more. Now, the real value of that money cannot even be achieved when subsidy was still there. Because things have changed. And the government, as a matter of urgency, must do a U-turn about these policies. Nigerians are complaining. Things are hard out there. The IMF cannot continuously misleading, permit me to use that word, the authorities anyway, but I've not seen them maybe going to the advanced country and bringing out policies and they implemented, very rare, but it's only in Africa, and now they are still advising Nigeria to remove the subsidy they are still paying. The president should not remove the subsidy. Should not. And that money, they said, because you remove the subsidy, it has affected a lot of things. That's what they promise, the economic time value. It has affected a lot of things. You cannot keep window dressing the challenge when you are not addressing it from the roots. It's like maybe you try to tackle a cancer patient. You don't treat the symptoms, you get to the root. Otherwise, if you treat the symptoms, it's going to occur again, maybe in no distant time. What Nigerians are supposed to be doing, this palliative is just, in fact, the federal government just released some tons of grains also recently. These are temporary measures. It's not solving the problem. The problem is we must go back to production. Nigeria is an import-dependent country. You cannot build a nation like that.
But I think that there's some counter opinions to this, and I'd like to run by you to see what you think. Let's talk particularly now about how food in the country is a bit difficult. Now, import duties on a lot of things, including cars. Take for instance, let's use cars. Nigeria does not produce up to, I don't think, maybe 5% or 2% of the cars. Some motors, even though they're doing their best, they're not a staple product in the country. Now, initially, the idea behind increasing import duties, making imports harder, is that it's supposed to encourage local production. Now, we're not getting that anymore. Now, you pay almost perhaps half the price of a car to import the car. into the country, and it's making it less harder and harder for people to even have cars in this day and time. Now that's for cars. Let's talk about food. If production of food is becoming so difficult, not just because people don't want to produce, but because of the issue of insecurity, farmers are losing their farmlands, they're having to stay in IDPs while they figure out how they can reclaim their land. People are being killed and so on, and food security is very low. It doesn't even make sense at this point in time, even if it's just for a period of time, that we remove all import duties from importation, just so that people can breathe again and get food that is affordable and cheaper. Do you think this harms us in the long run?
Yeah, basically,
the same for the cars too.
Yeah,
removing import duties.
Yeah, if you do that, in the long run, it's going to affect us because it's going to make maybe the nation like a dumping ground, and no meaning development will happen, or no nation develop when you are import dependent. But because of our current situations now, urgent measures are needed. That route you just mentioned is an option. But if I am government today, I don't think I will go through that route. All we need to do is we must begin to consume our locally made goods.
You think it's enough at this time? Yes,
and that is why it is insanity for you to keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. There has been cry or agitations in the past for Nigeria to diversify from depending on the crude to agriculture. Nothing was done in that route, or it wasn't continuous. The policy, the government will come, they will stop, the next one will come, they are not picking it up, so it has become a challenge, and that is the reality we are facing now. Now, do we have the capacity to produce what we can eat? Yes. But there's a challenge. What is the challenge? The farms are not safe, insecurity. And it all boils down to the government. All we need to do now to get out of this quagmire is we must encourage production. That's the only way out. We must encourage production. We must patronize locally made products. And in patronizing locally made products, it begins from the government. I still find it difficult to imagine it, that the federal government or the government, legislatures, all types of government, they approve cars for themselves, and most of the SUVs are imported. Imagine if you can patronize locally made product. Innocent Pan is in, I think, Peugeot Automobile, and we'll have one or two assembly in Lagos or thereabout. If you can patronize that, imagine the ripple effect it will have on us and on the economy. But it's so unfortunate, like the former president of the United States has said, in Africa, all we have very weak institutions. We have just strong men, and that has been the problem. And now, for us to come out of this quagmire, we must encourage production. We must patronize locally made goods. The government must provide securities so that people can go to their farm. We have the capacity. If those things are not in place, I'm on live TV right now, it will be easier for the camera to pass through the eye of the needle than we coming out of this situation in the short term.
Well, but I believe that's fair enough. So let's look at another issue now. We have the NIMC trying to give some directives that makes it a bit difficult for nurses to leave the country. I'm sure if you paid attention last year, there was also talks about a bill that would make the doctors have to work a certain amount of years or year before they can be allowed to leave. I'd like to get your thoughts on that. Do you think it is the right way to go, for lack of a better word, to enforce people to stay in the country, particularly with the challenges they face here?
I think it begins with us first. We must be mindful of the kind of people we even vote for or send as a representative to our legislatures. We must be very mindful. Some things are unthinkable. It's simple. if these people are leaving, why don't you fix that thing that is making them to leave? You see, that going there is not the problem. It means we are having a problem home, and that's why they find it difficult to leave. It's like a father, you have children, and every time you come, your children are in your neighbor's house watching television because you don't have television. What does that tell you? It tells you that as a father, you should make effort and get television and fix it in your house so that your children can be watching. Now you say you want to come and regulate people. They shouldn't go. And you are not solving the problem. Why don't you make the working environment, incentives, very, very good, and you're going to see whether people are going to leave. I've heard before, like in the past, from stories we've had, that Nigerian naira is virtually more equivalent to the US dollars. But look at the difference today. Why? Continuous poor administration or leaders has led us into this. So regulating those people is not the solution. What is the solution? Fix the problems. Once you fix it, you get it right here, this takes its course, and you're going to see that the movement reduces. But for now, I am completely against regulating that aspect. The government should for once take responsibility and act.
Speaking about Japa, let's say the opposite happened the other day with the Minister of Trade and Investment and the UK's Minister, where they reached an agreement where apparently they agreed that UK lawyers could practice in Nigeria. Although I believe they later rewrote the release, particularly after a lot of backlash, and some lawyers have even said that it's not even possible based on the rules and the constitution that external solicitors cannot simply come in and start to work here. What do you make of that idea? You know, allowing foreign lawyers. Is that something that helps Nigeria, in your opinion?
Yes, if you ask my opinion, I think it's a good move in the right direction. Why do I say so? It gives room for growth and exchange of better ideas, if that will happen. But maybe they need to work on some of the frameworks. If you're here, we're going to use these laws here. If you're there, I feel that exchange is not a bad idea. It's a very good innovation and innovative idea. But however, they should come together, work out the modalities. It's going to work. I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
But don't you think Nigeria should be getting similar? That is our lawyers being able to.
No, of course. It's when you talk about bilateral relations, these are what international trade virtually like entails. Yes, it should be the way we are benefiting here, Nigerians are also benefiting there. It shouldn't just be one-sided. If it's one-sided, then it's not good.
Fair enough. I believe that's how we want to round off the program today. But I would really like to get your thoughts finally on the issue of insecurity, because this usually permeates most of the things that attract the policies and all of that. When we want to attract investments, people may watch out and see how secure is this place you want us to come and invest in. We have on mounting insecurity, Senate charges service chiefs on synergy, working together. We've seen some things where the Nigerian Army, not even the Nigerian Air Force, bombed a place, and it was accidental and so on and so forth. So I'd like to get your thoughts when it comes to insecurity, and what do you think could be done differently in that regard? President Buhari actually invested, budgeted, or gave the largest chunk of his budgets always to insecurity, and I believe the current president has also done fairly similar. So how do you think we can really tackle this issue?
Yeah, the truth is, no meaningful development can happen if security is not in place. Security globally is a top priority for most nations, and that's why I see countries like the American and most advanced world, they spend heavily on defense. Why? Without security, a lot of things cannot be. You cannot even attract foreign direct investors because it's not safe. And currently, I will say we are living with insecurity, but the rate at which it's going is very alarming. The Nigerian government must, as a matter of urgency, fix it. There has been agitation about state policing. I think the federal government should look towards that direction. It's going to assuage a lot of things. The issue of security must be a top priority. People must go to their farms. The rate of kidnapping is high. Just recently, students in Nasarawa State protested. So, why? Kidnappings. And eventually cut across everywhere. We had a recent kidnapping somewhere around Buhari in Abuja here. Issue of security must be addressed as fast as possible. And in addition, the remuneration of servicemen, I think the government should look into that direction. The Minister of Defense, I think he was on air some days and talked about some of the remuneration that they are not encouraging. I still find it difficult to understand how our leaders think or how they handle issues. To the extent that security that is your own security, you don't pay him much. You pay him just peanuts. So somebody that is responsible for your own security, except maybe for very few things around maybe the major public office holders, maybe they get additional incentive. Others no. The issue of security should be addressed. I don't know how the government wants to do it, but they can do it. You're going to involve a lot of stakeholders, religious leaders, traditional rulers. You go down to the people, make the people trust you so that they can volunteer information that will be useful. That is how it's done globally, and that is the only way. Without security, it will be difficult for us to experience a lot of things. The economy right now is in terrible quagmire. The government can as well, in the short run, you can maybe concession some of basic infrastructures like the roads, the airports, the train services. You can do that to generate revenue, to stem some of those things. Otherwise, I'm afraid for the nation. The president must act, and he must act fast.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mekara. It's been a pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you, sir.
Alright, that's how we round off the program for today. Don't forget the POLITY reaches you live from Abuja every weekday, 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Do join us once again tomorrow. Particularly, you'll be joined by Mercy Babajide to bring to you more analysis and updates on that fine intersection of politics, governance, and the state of the nation. Have a nice day. Happy Valentine's Day. I hope you share love out there today. See you tomorrow. Bye for now. I am Amadin, Ogbewe.